Hello everyone, it's Colin. I'm back at you with another video. This is going to be the first episode of our Overwatch League weekly power rankings video. And the main reason why I didn't do one the previous week is because we had more or less no data to go off of other than just a few matches for the team. Some of the teams only even played just one game, and so that's why we're going to hop into it this week. Starting off the top of our list, we have the San Francisco Shock and the LA Gladiators at number 1 and 2. The Shock, I feel like it's pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory, and really it's just like, if you doubted these rookies, are you doubting them now? I mean, Proper is just an absolute menace, and I've been very impressed by the amounts of synergy they've been able to get so early on with Kaluge coming in, and especially with him playing the Winston when he is more known as like a Sigma Diva player. Next, of course, is the Glads at number 2 on our list. They look a little messy, but they're still performing. And I think a big part of that is just Potifon. He's still trying to maybe figure things out a little bit. You know, if you watch him on the cams, he looks so nervous, which is not the type of persona he seemed to have when you were watching him in Valorant, or even back in like 2017 when he was playing Overwatch for Thailand in the World Cup. But I'm really just confident that they can beat the teams below them, despite them not necessarily looking the best at times. They totally threw their match against Dallas, and that does hurt them a little bit. I maybe actually would have put them above Shock if they had still beaten Dallas, but they just didn't. They kind of just threw that one away. So next we're going to be talking about the mess that is the teams of 3 through 7. Seriously, any of the teams in this range could beat each other right now. And they more or less all have beaten each other once or twice at this point. The biggest thing with this group that I'm noticing is the Doomfist debacle. Is Doomfist really that good? Honestly, I don't think he is. I think the Winston comps are just better, especially when you have the Tracer in there. The comp that is going to win is the Winston side. But then there is the interesting look that teams like Dallas have been throwing at us with the look of using Zarya in there, which supposedly is what the teams in the East are playing. And so I guess we'll get to see that, since this week we will finally be able to see the APAC teams. But I am really interested to see about how the meta really shakes out. Regardless though, Atlanta and Houston are kind of throwing because they're still playing Doomfist, and the teams that are good like Washington, Shock, Glads, heck even Dallas, even though Dallas isn't always playing the Winston's just better. And so it kind of makes me wonder if the battle for Texas was kind of just a fluke, because I mean Houston kind of trounced on Dallas there. But I have them here towards the bottom of this 3 through 7 ranking because I really just don't feel confident in them, especially going forward if they've realized that now they can't just play Dante on Doomfist the whole time. Next, we of course have the Florida Zone. Florida, I am putting them in their own tier because they're kind of just the gatekeepers of the Western teams at this point. They do have a chance here and there. I think that they could win a couple games off of the teams above them in this like 3 to 7 range. They could maybe take some maps off of a team like Washington. They could probably beat Houston. Maybe they could give teams like Atlanta a run for their money. But really, it's just as simple as Florida are better than every team below them, and reasonably so. I think Paris here and there could maybe sneak up in there if Paris starts to get things together, but they did just make that roster move, and with their roster move they looked okay, but they still kind of underperformed, so I really don't know about Paris. Next, I wanted to talk about London in this next group, and is it that they really are overperforming, or are teams just not having any idea how to handle Ryan? Supposedly, London was blacklisted by a lot of teams from scrims heading into the season because they were just bad, but now it seems like they were able to beat some teams because they're not scrimming against anyone else playing Ryan, because I mean literally like no other team is playing Ryan except for Houston. I think had Piggy play Ryan for like a map, but other than London, not really anyone's playing the Ryan. And so what I think it was they just managed to beat a couple of the teams that sort of are lost in the sauce right now. They still lost to San Francisco and didn't necessarily look very good at all in that match. I mean, Backbone was kind of just feeding, especially when they were having him play Genji. But London here and there still played a relatively competent dive with the monkey comps. They were still able to beat Boston, playing a lot of the monkey comps actually. So I don't really know. They're kind of in a weird spot in this bottom-ish tier, I guess. But I still don't really know if they actually are better than teams like Boston and Vancouver, or if it's just that teams like Boston just were kind of lost in the sauce, because that's sort of the way it looks like. When you look at a team like Boston, they are rotating players left and right. They finally didn't make a switch in the support line, but that's only because Crimzo was sick, and I'm sure if Crimzo was able to play, he and MCD would have been splitting the game time again. And I just want them to play striker. Just play striker, play Valentine. Heck, Punk actually looked pretty okay when he was playing the Winston, so just play Punk and then just play Crimzo and Faith, and then I feel like you have a very solid team there. But for whatever reason, they want to put Marvel in on Doom, even though I feel like Marvel's main characters shouldn't be Doom. And then they have Itzel, who I guess is supposed to be like their monkey player, but then they have Punk playing monkey at the same time. And then I just don't understand anything that this team is doing. Boston, they just kind of look like they're super lost in the sauce right now. And then, of course, to round it all off for our NA power rankings here in week 2 of the Overwatch League, we have Vancouver. I don't think anyone can really doubt this. I mean, Vancouver, it was one of 4 teams to play 4 matches in the first 2 weeks, and they had basically the exact opposite results as the SF Shock, and they went 0-4 compared to the Shock's 4-0. They had a relatively close series against Boston, but then they kind of just got plowed over in the other series. And so I feel like it's just pretty confident to say that Vancouver is the worst team in the Overwatch League right now. Maybe we'll see a team like Guangzhou or the Valiant be worse, but I don't necessarily have the confidence in Vancouver, which really makes me sad because they do have some really good players like Aspire, Shockwave, but those 2 players, even though it is more of a DPS-centric game, there's a lot more room for plays in 5v5. I mean, there's only so much you can do as those 2. They did look better when they finally actually chose to play those 2 together rather than subbing in and out Psycho. I still don't understand why they played Mirror in their series against Florida, other than, I don't know, they thought maybe Mirror would give them an edge, but like, I don't understand why you would play a player that you literally just signed. It was either the morning of or the night before, and then you take the time to play them while they are still in Florida playing at the same facility as the Mayhem. I just don't understand anything that this Vancouver team is doing. I really want to see some of the players on the team. I really want to see them do well in the Overwatch League. They have experience, but they're just not it. Anyways, that's our power rankings. I'll show them right here on the screen one more time for you, all of the teams. I personally, the Shock just looks super strong right now. For the Glads looked a little better, and they had probably beaten Dallas. I probably maybe would have put them above the Shock, but let me know what y'all think. Let me know in the comments if you think the Glads are better, if you would maybe switch some of the teams in that 3-7 mess that I was talking about. Feel free to let me know. Anyways, my name's been Colin. I would really appreciate a sub and a like on the video, and I hope you have a good one. Until next time, bye.